There's lots more of today's top news stories on the way with Ashley James, Nick Ferrari and, of course, Piers Morgan.
Let's start with this big news, of course, Piers. We've seen that Prince Harry has been over. He's been making some great headlines. He's making this big donation to children in need, over £1.1 million.
Yep.
Lots of speculation about whether he would have an opportunity to meet his dad. He did meet the King yesterday.
Whoopie-doo. He's here apparently on a massive charm offensive. The only problem is he spent the last 5 years not being charming, but being deeply offensive about the royal family and about the monarchy. And we see the consequence of that in the second topic that we're going to come to, which is about the falling popularity of the monarchy in this country, particularly amongst young people. And I blame entirely well, not entirely, because I also blame Prince Andrew for a lot of this, but I think what Harry and Meghan have done in damaging the reputation of the royal family, this is now manifesting itself in the polling about the royal family and the monarchy. And that's why I've been so against what they've been doing for so long, because this is the reality. Reconciliation
can only happen if steps are made. You're a dad yourself. You've got grown-up sons. You've got a younger daughter as well. And there will be fallouts along the way. It's such a public relationship. And as you say, he's been very open about where he is in that sort of situation. But this potentially could be a positive for them to be able to... I mean, look,
they spent 5 years enriching themselves in California by trashing their family. You can't get away from that. So, yeah, he can come back and he can do a bit of grovelling and he can do a bit of charity work and he can get his chequebook out from the ill-gotten gains he's made from trashing his family. But don't expect me to get the bunting out and go, oh, great, Prince Harry's back, after basically bringing the royal family to its knees whilst Prince Philip was dying, whilst the Queen was dying. You know, a lot of damage has been done. I hope in that meeting with his father, he got on bended knee and issued a proper grovelling apology. I suspect he didn't, but he should have done. And if that was one of my sons who'd done that to my family, that's what I want him to do.
Ashley?
I think, you know, we're both parents, we're all parents. I think this is amazing on a personal level because I think it was really sad, you know, when King Charles was going through his cancer diagnosis, Harry not even knowing what was going on with his dad, and that really broke my heart. So I think on a personal level, this is only amazing news and we should celebrate it. And from the royal family, Prince Harry never stepped back from royal duties because he didn't care about his duty. And I think he has shown, not just while he was in the royal family, but since, he has continued his amazing work with the Invictus Games. He's consistently shown his dedication to veterans, to servicemen. He has done so much for mental health, for his charity work.
What's he done for the mental health of his family, do you think?
Well, the thing is...
I'm serious. I mean, look, you're painting this idyllic picture of this heroic character. He has renounced royal duty. Hang on. He's renounced royal duty, but he's kept the royal titles so that he can continue to make money out of being Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex. And my thing is that you can't have your cake and eat it. The Queen was very much you're either in or you're out. What he wants to do is cherry-pick certain things that make him look good and make himself very rich off the back of being a royal. And I'm afraid I'm not buying the whole, oh, isn't it wonderful that Harry's back?
Can I talk
now?
Not
really. You can now talk.
Thank you. So, Prince Harry stepped back because he felt like there was relentless media intrusion, your mouth being one of those mouthpieces. And...
Was I more or less intrusive than he's been in his own words?
Also, I resent... Let me talk now. Let me talk now.
Well, come on. Talk about royal intrusion. The most intrusive person into royal privacy ever has been Prince Harry. With his book, with his Netflix series, with everything else.
He watched his mother die, and all our hearts broke watching him go walk in her funeral, and he did his best to protect his family, to protect Meghan. He was very open, asking people to stop criticising her, and he felt that it was damaging his family well-being. I think Prince Harry is an amazing asset to the royal family. I think he would actually do so much to help modernise the institution. He shows that it is OK to talk, and I think I would really struggle to have the level of vitriol that him and his wife faced and not feel like he had to speak his truth.
What about the vitriol he's dished out to his family? It's unbelievable.
Let's speak to Nick.
Please stand up.
He did. Very polite, actually. Very unusually polite.
Yes, Ferrari.
I think
You can
I
take the
think
floor.
Piers lecturing Dermot on humility guaranteed you next year's NTA. That is brilliant.
Do you know
And
what
the last
he did,
time I saw Piers, the last time I saw
Ferrari
Piers,
got married, and he made me get up and do a reading. I hadn't really checked what I was reading, and it was a reading about humility. He set me up like a kipper.
And there we are. There you are. And Piers, by the way, Biggins says, can you give him his Bible back? Biggins needs his Bible. To the debate at hand, though, and congratulations to everybody and to the team. And as you rightly say, your production team is par excellence. They are fantastic, and they deserve all the plaudits as well. Piers is right here. This is a man who chose to get away from royal duty, but remember, the row was about the fact, despite the fact that he wanted to go and live in exile and then write books and his wife do television shows, he still expected the same level of security as if he was a working royal. That is what the row boils down to. I hear what Ashley says. Too much was expected of him as a young man when he walked behind his mum's funeral. That was a grotesque mistake. But the heart of the row is that he wants to effectively not be a royal, but be treated as a royal. And that's what caused the row. And also some pretty disobliging passages in his book about his dad. So Piers, on that aspect, I have to say, I would find for him.
So, Nick, I've got a question for you. Do you think, like Piers said, he has been responsible for destroying public opinion on the royal family? The National Centre for Social Research has conducted a survey that has found only 51% of people feel the monarchy are quite or very important.
In fairness to what Piers said, he also brought in Prince Andrew, and we must go back to Piers in a moment. I would suggest, and there is no measure by which we can gauge this, I think the damage done by Andrew is far more grave than what Harry has done. Harry hasn't helped, unfortunately. And I think a lot of wise commentators said, when sadly we lost the Queen, we wouldn't know what we've lost until it went. She did have this extraordinary aura for young and for old and I respect everything the King does, but clearly, according to this survey, they are not latching on in the same way. But I think the real issue, as Piers rightly said, let's not forget what Andrew has done. I mean, that is a grotesque manifestation there.
But Piers, I mean, it has been dropping fairly regularly until we actually did the CNN and we covered the wedding. Remember when it was?
I do.
And then it got boosted up again and popularity went through the ceiling. What do you think they can do to turn this around?
Well, they can stop behaving like Prince Andrew has done in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. I think that was very damaging. And they can also stop amongst themselves, and again, talking about Harry and his wife Meghan, they can stop trashing the institution of the monarchy, calling it a callous, racist institution, and then backtracking from that once the damage has been done. I think it's very difficult to underestimate the damage that was done to the reputation of the monarchy worldwide from the allegation that they were racist, the royals, about the skin colour of Harry and Meghan's upcoming baby, as it was then. You know, they later tried to say, we didn't mean that, we didn't mean that. The damage was done. That went round the Commonwealth, and a lot of black people around the world went, wow, we are now hearing from somebody inside the royal family that they're racist. Do not underestimate the damage. And it's no good of Harry years later to say, we didn't mean to say they were racist. It was all, you know, he came up with all sort of ridiculous language to explain it. No, that Oprah Winfrey interview, which actually led to me leaving Good Morning Britain. And I stand by everything I said that day, because I felt in the moment it was incredibly damaging and very disingenuous.
To Ashley's point, though, there's been this decline in support for the monarchy. To Ashley's point, and I think Lorraine put this brilliantly a couple of days ago when she was talking about Prince Harry at the Well Child Awards. When you watch Prince Harry doing what Prince Harry always did so fantastically well, he was also always so relatable. Anybody that was in the army with him, everybody talked so glowingly about what a fantastic part of that army and that group he was. When you see him doing what he does brilliantly, there's no question that if he has had an impact on it dropping, he can have an impact on it coming back again, Ashley.
And also, I kind of resent the comparison between Prince Andrew and Prince Harry, because there is no comparison.
We need to point out Prince Andrew's not been found guilty of anything. He has questionable behaviour and relationships, of course, but that's really important.
I think, and maybe speaking from a slightly younger perspective...
Oh, my God! Really?
I just have to get digging there.
You did that?
I just have to get digging there somewhere. But
wow.
I think it's not just Harry and Meghan, who, by the way, I think I would love to see them back in the royal family. I don't think it's something that they want, but I think Harry is such an asset to the royal family, and I think it does help to modernise and help them evolve. I love the Queen. I also recognise how important the royal family are and how much they mean to people and how much of an impact they can have on businesses and on charities. But I also do think that, especially in a time of austerity, for a lot of younger people, it does sit a bit uncomfortably with people to have a monarchy during this very difficult time. So I don't think that we can just put down the fact that the monarchy is losing favour or losing public support down to Harry and Meghan. Because actually, I think a lot of young people do relate to Harry and Meghan much more, and they love Harry and Meghan, especially
well, actually,
Harry.
Look, I hate to be, again, the party pooper, but in all the polling, their popularity is right down with Prince Andrew. And the popular ones are Kate and William, right? Yeah. And they are the future of the royal family. And we know, and we might as well, the elephant in the room is that William wants nothing to do with his brother, hasn't made any time to see him on this trip, is absolutely enraged about what his brother's done to the family. And that's a bigger issue for the family going forward. So much as you would like to have them skip back from California and as the sort of saviours of the family they've been trashing, actually a lot of the family don't want to see them.
Nick, last word for you on this one?
Well, I think if Harry and Meghan help get Piers off the telly, a nation should show its gratitude. That's the greatest work that Harry's... And the popularity will soar again. Let's just remind the nation what they achieved.
That is a very, very good point. Studio. Can't wait.
Let's move on to another...
When's he getting here in his bike? I can't actually hit him through the screen.
Imminently. Can't come soon enough. Let's move on to this third story, which is quite an interesting one. It'd be interesting to get everybody's perspective on this. This was a moment that happened in the Northern Irish Assembly chamber yesterday. A clash between a female politician in Northern Ireland and the Deputy Speaker. She's accused him of being patronising. Let's have a look at the interchange.
You have an opportunity to retract and make an apology for the statement you made, or you can remove yourself from the chamber.
I won't, Deputy Speaker. I won't make an apology, because you do need to look at the way that you do speak to many of the women in this chamber who do stand up and the way you talk there. So I will not make an apology. And you can ask me again, my answer won't change.
Listen to the Mayor. You are to remove yourself from the chamber right now.
So that was the follow-up to a moment initially where the Speaker was making a comment and she stood up to say something and he, to interrupt, and he gestured. He said, shh, told her shush and asked her to sit down like this. It's an extraordinary moment, Ashley, to watch, to see the Deputy Speaker doing that. And obviously there is protocol within these sort of parliamentary bodies, and everybody has to adhere to that protocol. But clearly there's been something going on here.
It was the tone that he used was the tone that you would use to tell off a child, and it was the hand gestures. And man to man, he wouldn't have spoken like that, and he wouldn't have made those gestures. It's very belittling, and this is something that many women face all the time. And I actually really love that she stood her ground and showed that, you can be assertive, because I think when women stand their ground, they're often seen as like bossy. That's a word, that very gendered word that gets thrown around. And the fact is, he wouldn't have used that tone to a male colleague. And we see it all the time, not just in politics, but especially in politics, the level of sexism we see in the media. I can already hear Piers laughing in my ear.
It's just a load of old baloney, sorry. And I speak as an expert, by the way, in high-profile people who've been asked to apologise or leave buildings. So, just for the record.
Have people ever... But Piers, everyone shh. Has anyone shh?
He didn't do it like that. If you actually watched I watched it 3 times.
Okay.
To be sure that I'm not misreading this appalling sexist attack on this vulnerable MP who looked at me
like
she could...
No one said she's vulnerable.
Absolutely. Well, she was playing the old victim card pretty heavily. Look, I watched it. He treated her exactly the way our Speaker treats people in our House of Commons. Exactly the same way. He wasn't patronising. There wasn't, like, endless flapping. There wasn't shushing. It was all very measured. It was like... He said, hang on, you're interrupting while another member of the House is speaking. Let's let him finish, then we'll come back. Perfectly reasonable behaviour. Her behaviour is completely unacceptable. And I hate it when female politicians play that victim card and say, we're being singled out for terrible treatment. No, you're not. So don't play the card when that happens.
Have we got the original moment?
Yeah, watch it.
They're just clipping it up. Nick, I'm sure you've seen it in some capacity. What was your take on the exchange between the two of them?
I have seen it, and I remind the viewers it's not that long ago when David Cameron was Prime Minister. Do you remember he got into enormous trouble for saying someone should calm down? I'm kind of on Piers' side here. Politics is a contact sport. Everybody accepts that. You go in. I'm not saying necessarily it should be like that, but it is. You have to be robust. And if you're going to get distressed about this, it possibly is not the right game for you, because that is the way politics has evolved, whether it's there, whether it's in our own House of Commons, whether it's anywhere in the Parliament. Two political parties, or as many as you like, going at each other, it's sometimes going to get a bit robust, and you just have to have a thick skin.
Hang on a minute. She was not vulnerable. She just refused to stand down and apologise. And I actually
didn't say
resent
she was vulnerable.
the term
I just said a
that
certain robustness is what's required.
I hate this idea, like politics is a contact sport, as if it's like a man's world, because actually we do need more women in politics.
You didn't say man's world.
No, but it's like a contact sport. But she never said she was vulnerable. Like, nobody said that she's vulnerable. And I also resent this. She's playing the woman card, because we don't make up sexism, and actually we see it all the time.
It wasn't sexist.
We see it all the time with how women are talked about. We focus on their legs. They're reduced to their clothes. They're being bossy. Yes, because I do think.
When did he mention her clothes? What she was wearing?
We see it in the media, but he wouldn't have spoken to a male colleague like that.
She said was, I won't make an apology, because you do need to look at the way you speak to many of the women in this chamber. I mean, that was a phrase that she put out.
I haven't seen all the other,
and it's not playing
all the other times he may have. If there are other examples and he's being sexist, I'll call it out, because I hate sexism. But I'm sorry, in that clip, I've watched it 3 times in its entirety. He was not the problem. She was.
We've been talking about... Nick, you talk about politics being a contact sport. I thought we were trying to take the contact out of politics to make debates a sort of more... You can actually disagree with someone without it becoming aggressive or difficult from one side to the other.
Well, you can try, but I don't think it will happen by the very nature of the way our political parties are constituted. The fact that there's going to be a big competition now for the deputy leader of the Labour Party. They will be a beauty parade. They will try and take slugs out of each other. That's the way it is. If you look at the success, if you look at the polling, Ashley Piers, you have to accept Nigel Farage now. If we went to vote today, he would certainly be the biggest party. He's someone who is very adept at reading the mood, very adept at being quite robust, playing as a contact sport. Because I have to say, Ben, that's what works. That's what gets you noticed. That's what gets you votes. That's the reality of life.
I actually don't mind the robust or the anything like that. It was the slightly condescending.
I think we've got the clip, so we can show you the clip now if you haven't seen it. This is the clip, and you can see what...
Thank you very much indeed. That concludes... Just a second. That concludes the statement by the Minister. Point of order.
She interrupted him.
No, but I don't mind anybody saying...
She interrupted the Speaker when he was addressing the House. Sorry, if a man did that, he'd do exactly the same.
He wouldn't use that tone, and he wouldn't do that.
You don't believe that either of you.
No, we're not making it up.
Look, he doesn't even sit right when he does it.
That was a joke. Before you all write in saying Morgan's being terrible sexist to Ashley and Kat, that was a little joke.
No,
come on. Really? Someone does this and everyone throws their toys at the shoulder.
I never thought I'd say that, but I prefer you to be sat here.
You better get over here, Ferrari. They're all feeling a bit picked on.
I know. I'm just reminded, do you remember David Schwimmer in Friends when he used to go like that? Do you remember that?
Yes.
That's all that guy's doing.
Yeah.
Just like that, keep the noise down.
Don't interrupt me. He was very polite, actually.
Let's put that out to the viewers. Get in touch with us via the app.
They'll agree with me. You watch. Do a poll.
Do you think
let's sack Morgan. Let's put that to the viewers. Let's sack Morgan. Yes or no? Ring this number now.
You can't sack me. I'm my own boss now, and I'm not firing myself.
These influencers, yeah. Discuss more of Thursday's headlines. Nick has joined us in the studio, and breaking news as well. We've just heard that Peter Mandelson has been sacked. He's gone.
Yes, Lord Mandelson's gone. We're talking about today's headlines. That will be tomorrow's headlines after what? Twisting in the wind for a while, saying to the Sun's Harry Cole there were more allegations to come out. And, of course, supported, as Piers was just saying, supported now by the Prime Minister. Yeah,
he's sacked him because Bloomberg overnight revealed over 100 emails that they had got hold of between Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. And the thing, I think, for me that was clear that he had to go was, if you look at the timescale, there is an argument, if you're like Donald Trump and you knew Epstein before his conviction for being a paedophile in 2008-9, if you were friendly with him before then, when he was amassing all these famous friends, OK, if you then distance yourself from him, OK, the plausible deniability. But if you carry on seeing him and working and doing business with him when Mandelson was Trade Secretary, then I'm afraid that becomes, I think, untenable, because you know then the man is a convicted paedophile.
And you go to Manhattan when the man is under house arrest, and you visit his house when the man. So I'm all for staying with friends. My God, I've had to stay friendly with this bloke.
Well, likewise.
I know.
I mean.
But there comes a point. This man, right? He's awaiting child sex charges. He's under house arrest. You are a government representative. Your trip has been funded by the British government. By the way, we paid £6,800 to send, and you go and see Epstein. It's a judgment. It's just shot.
Questions. I think we talked about this briefly yesterday as well, of his judgments. Actually, you kind of look at Keir Starmer now. He's just had this reshuffle. There's all sorts of changes going on within his government, and then all of a sudden you kind of go, what was the Prime Minister thinking by appointing him in the first place? Because this isn't new news.
No.
Maybe the extent of what it was and the detail wasn't known as clearly as it is now, but you kind of... There's questions about Keir Starmer and why he would make that decision.
Well, I suppose the important thing is that he has sacked him now. This information has come out, and I obviously welcome any information of anyone linked to Epstein to face judgment for what they've done. But I think the good thing is that Keir Starmer has made has sacked him.
But there will be questions about the Prime Minister's judgment. That's 2 weeks running now where he's stood up in Prime Minister's questions and staunchly stood by someone who's then had to go almost immediately afterwards.
Well, if he knew, why did he appoint him? If he didn't know, why on earth didn't he get some background done? Or has he misled? If he's misled the
By the way, Peter Mandelson, I think he's now the first person, probably in modern British political history, to have to resign 3 times.
3 times?
From government, yeah.
Piers is the Mandelson of British television.
It's even more times than I've had to go.
Yeah, but you didn't resign. You were booted out. Isn't that how...
I think we discussed this earlier. I was asked to apologise for disbelieving Princess Pinocchio and chose not to.
One question, though, because, of course, Peter Mandelson came out...
Don't want to get kicked out again. Just behave.
But hold on.
Piers,
there is a question, though, of course, because this book that was written for Epstein for his 50th birthday, which Peter Mandelson has come out and agreed that was a note that he wrote himself.
10-page note.
And, of course...
Ending with the words yum, yum.
And Donald Trump is denying his role. And does...
Well, I've got an interesting thing on that. I have an interview on my Uncensored channel tonight with David Boies, who's the lawyer that represented Virginia Giuffre, one of the victims, and several other victims, and his firm represented dozens of victims. And he said categorically, he's seen everything, right, Boies. He's one of the most experienced lawyers in American history. He says there is no evidence, he said absolutely, categorically, no evidence that links Donald Trump to anything nefarious with Epstein, nor Bill Clinton, he said. And in fact, he was urging Trump to release all the Epstein files because he said, you've got nothing to worry about. It may be that other people do. He said between 10 and 20 men, he believes, are in those files who need to be held properly accountable. Remember, only one person has been jailed for the Epstein scandal, and that was a woman, Ghislaine Maxwell. None of the men that were involved with Epstein and abusing hundreds of girls, many of them underage, have ever been brought to account. It's a real scandal. So it's not surprising to me that Mandelson's gone. I mean, it'd be interesting, I think the pressure on Keir Starmer now is, what did Mandelson tell him? What did they find out in the process when they were vetting him to appoint him as a very high-power position? Now, the UK ambassador to the United States in the Trump administration is a very big... And next week, of course, Trump's here for the state visit. Mandelson was due to be there.
I wonder if in the interview process for Mandelson they asked him what his football team was.
They might have done. They might have. What do you think he would have said?
Well, because the interesting thing is now, these days, you can actually use your football team as a reason not to employ somebody, Nick.
This is tribunal. This is a tribunal. Let's get this right. An employment tribunal in London has ruled that maintaining office harmony is a valid factor in recruitment decisions. This was... Well, actually, it's the rivalry that you all know about, I think, yes. Can an Arsenal supporter join a Tottenham, where everyone's supporting Tottenham, and vice versa? I don't have any of these problems because, as Piers might vaguely remember, I follow the jewel of the East Midlands, Leicester City. So,
who won the league?
We did win the league.
Arsenal last won it.
That's right. So there's never any problem with me, but probably speaks more to your fan.
Well, I don't really understand this because, as an Arsenal fan, if I was packing my team with Arsenal fans on, say, Uncensored, the idea of having a token Tottenham fan that we could mock and abuse all day long is extremely appealing. And also, if you had a bad day as an Arsenal fan, obviously the Tottenham guy is going to have an immeasurably worse time all of the time. So to me, it would be a mood improver, not a mood hoover.
So it was a candidate who went to tribunal because she was denied a job because of the company's social culture, actually. The interviewer explained that they vibed better with the other candidates.
No, I kind of think that, yeah, of course, culture fit is really important, but the idea that they vibed better, I think maybe it was something to do with, like, her not wanting to go out in the evenings, and that's a really difficult one, because if you're a mum, or maybe you don't socialise or drink alcohol or whatever it might be for your religion, or it's just like you support a different football team. Don't we want people that are different? And isn't that one of the beautiful things about going to work, that you do get to meet people from different walks of life to you? So I find this such a weird thing to have come from a...
I mean, I had a pretty big vibe difference on Good Morning Britain. And it didn't seem to do us any harm. The ratings exploded.
I'd actually like to speak to our tribunal about why we're getting along to these
I would argue it was great when they finally sorted it out.
I'm on your side. I'm on her side.
I'm not vibing very well here.
This is destroying my reputation sitting next to him, honestly.
He's feeling very vulnerable.
Well, let's move on to more important matters then. Who really, truly is the Queen of Pop? Is it Taylor Swift or is it Madonna? Taylor Swift is set to become the best-selling female artist of all time by the end of the year, overtaking Madonna. Is she the new Queen of Pop? What do you reckon, Piers?
Oh, it's Taylor Swift by a
all the way?
mile. Yeah, Madonna was last relevant or good about 43 years ago. A bit like Nick Ferrari. I think Madonna had a day. I went to see Madonna once at Wembley Stadium in the 80s, and she was fantastic. The holiday tour, fantastic. But she's 67 now. She's still doing the old stockings and suspenders act.
Is that
and
bad?
as she knows, when a woman gets to a certain age, you have to put it away, you know.
Hang on, whoa.
Oh,
right.
man, here we go.
As viewers were watching earlier, that is the return zinger, I promised you, for your ageist comment of me earlier.
What, so you thought you'd retort with being ageist?
Yes.
Piers,
like for like,
we don't,
it's called
women,
equality.
Let me just tell you something. Women do not dress for people to look at. So the idea that because
they do.
she's
What a
old...
load of nonsense.
If I can
of course
bring...
women dress. Of course
if I can bring...
You think that we think in the morning, what would a man like to look at today?
Absolutely.
Oh, Lord.
Absolutely, 100% you do. And what will other
No,
women...
you don't believe
And what will
that.
other women think of what I look like? Of course
And hang
you
on a
do.
minute. Do you know what I really actually dislike?
I do, and I'm not even a woman.
Firstly, I think they are both queens of pops. I think you can never take away the legacy that Madonna has created.
And she
so
probably
I don't like this...
influenced Taylor at some point in her
100%,
life,
you know, and I think we can include Beyonce in there, Dolly Parton in there. There's so many amazing women, so I don't necessarily like to compare. But Madonna seems to get so much stick for being an older woman, still doing her thing. But there's like so many other people, like Rod Stewart. I can't even think of half the men that are that age. Who else?
Mick Jagger, are
Mick
you trying to be
Jagger,
like that? Piers Morgan. These old men, older men.
They don't wear stockings as suspenders.
But also
or
because...
have 20-year-old toy boys
They
or
dress
girls.
the same as Harry Styles dresses.
I've seen Jason Donovan in stockings.
We don't
and
judge men.
That's true.
I've seen Jason.
That's true.
We don't judge men because we don't assume that you guys get up and dress for us because we don't objectify you.
I dress for women. Absolutely, I do.
You're not making a very good...
I got up this morning and I put on my best little thing, thinking all of this morning female viewers would be going, whoa.
You put those on...
We'd like you to cover up much more.
Really?
When you said...
Do you know what? I'll buy you some clothes.
When
When
you said you were going to do a conversation about the two queens of pop, I thought you meant me and Piers, because we both ran the pop column on the Sun.
You did?
Yeah, we
were
both ran the bizarre column.
in
Yeah,
this
separate
country.
time.
Yeah.
Who is considered the more successful of the two?
Oh, I think it would be this one. I think
Well, he would consider that. We were talking earlier about the exchange in Stormont between Steve Aitken and the MP, and we did put it out to the viewers as to whether they felt like his behaviour was patronising.
Last night, no.
You've spoken. 77% of you agree with Ashley.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It is, and it was
Thank you, Piers. That's because you're not a woman, so you can't understand what it's like.
Stop being so patronising. Honestly, really, this morning, viewers, you think that's sexist? How we've got so soft.
Piers.
Yeah, just look.
That's going to haunt me.
It really will. It really will.
It's gonna haunt me.
I'm going to send it to you.
I have to say, I've been ribbing you all morning. I'm genuinely pleased.
Yeah. Well done.
It was a very difficult thing that you guys had to do to come in and steady the ship. You've done it brilliantly. The viewers obviously love it. People have voted. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, that's literally
That is the
killed me to
first
say.
sensible thing. That's the first thing he said in about 20 minutes of telling that's made any sense.
We put him on to air for a couple of hours and he suddenly comes back to humanity. It's amazing.
It's in there somewhere. I just keep it hidden away.
It's been good to have you with us, Piers. Nick and Ashley, you are just as much valued part of this as well, so thank you.
I'll see you for you.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.